scope. Okay. Hari Bol. Om Adhyanati Mirandasya Dhyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamhayyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajeevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vikyana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhuri Jala Premadhya Shri Rupa Nuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostate Namaste Gauravani Shri Murti Dinatarine Rupa Nuga Viruthapa Siddhanta Dvantaharine Namo Gauri Kishoraya Sakshat Vairagya Murtaye Vipralambar Sambodhe Padambujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya Sachidananda Namine Gaura Shakti Sarupaya Rupanugavarayate Gaura Virbhava Bhumestvam Nirdeshta Sajjana Priya Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Shri Jagannathayate Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaiva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnayate Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gaura Tushe Namaha Panchatattvaatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Shri Radha Kanta Namostute Jaitam Surato Pangor Mama Mandir Mater Gati Mat Sarva Supadam Bhojo Shri Radha Madana Mohano Divya Dvindaranyam Kalpadrumadha Shrimad Ratnagara Sinhasanastav Shrimad Radha Shila Govinda Devo Krishtalivi Sevyamanu Smarami Shriman Dasasaram Divam Shivata Tadasitaha Karshan Venu Sunair Gopil Gopinath Shri Sudha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai. So we are in the 13th chapter, 23rd verse. So once a guru told his disciples, take the apples and eat where you're alone. So the gurus, the children ran here and there, some hid behind the wall, some hid behind the tree. They ate the apple where they felt they are alone, and they came back, except for one boy. He did not come back. So the guru and other students, they all were searching this boy. They saw this boy holding the apple and running everywhere. And the guru asked, why are you doing like this? Everybody ate and came back. He said, I have not found a single place where I am alone. Because at every place, Paramatma, who is residing in our heart, he is seeing our activities. We may think that nobody is seeing, but Krishna is seeing our activities. That has been mentioned in 13th chapter, 23rd verse. Upadrashta anumanta cha bharta bhukta maheshwara paramatmeti cha pyukto dehesmin purusha param. So till yesterday we saw the living entity, material nature, how in combination all the activities are there, and both the natures are different. Like the nature of the Prakriti is different, the nature of Jiva is different. Everybody has their own cause and effects. All these things we had seen yesterday. Today we are going to see Upadrashta Anumancha Cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara. Krishna says, I am the seer of everything, Upadrashta. And also I am the permitter, Anumanta. We say even a blade of grass does not move without the permission of Krishna, isn't it? So that is what Anumanta. He is a permitter. At the same time, he is Bharta. He is the master. Bhokta. He is a supreme enjoyer. Bhoktaram, Yakyatapasam, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, Krishna says. So here also Bhokta. He is the supreme enjoyer. Mahaishwaraha. He is the supreme Lord. Paramatma is the super soul. Iti cha api uktaha dehe asmin purushah para. So Lord exists in the body and he is the seer, he is the enjoyer, he is only Purushaha. Purusha refers to enjoyer, he is the only enjoyer. Prakriti is enjoyed by Krishna. In that Prakriti, there are two types. One is Jada Brahman, one is Jiva Brahman. Superior, inferior Prakriti. Prakriti refers to enjoyed by Krishna. So Jada Brahman, matter is also enjoyed by Krishna or it is for Krishna's service. And Jiva Brahman is also enjoyed by Krishna. Krishna is only Purusha. Upadrashta Anumanta cha Bharta Bhokta Maheshwaraha Paramatmeti Chapyukto Dehesmin Purusha Paraha. He is transcendental. Though residing in the body, he is not affected by any material nature. He is transcendental to the modes of material nature. Okay, Anupama, after a long time you are seeing busy.
Hare Krishna Mataji. So, thank you very much for asking. Yeah, very busy. Upradashta Numanta cha Bhatra Bhokta Maheshwara Paramatma Meti Chapyukto Dehesal Mina Purushaha Paraha.
Read the
Translation.
translation.
Yeah. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists as the oversees and permitter, and who is known as the Supreme Soul. Purport? Purport. It is stated that the Supreme Soul, who is always with the individual soul, is the representation of the Supreme Lord. He is not an ordinary living entity. Because the Moinist philosophers take the knower of the body to be one, they think that there is no difference between the supersoul and the individual soul. To clarify this, the Lord says that He is represented as the Paramatma in every body. He is different from the individual soul. He is para-transcendental. The individual soul enjoys the activities of particular field, but the super soul is present not as finite enjoyer nor as one taking part in bodily activities, but as the witness, overseer, permitter, and supreme enjoyer. This name is Paramatma, not Atma, and he is transcendental. It is distinctly clear that the Atma and Paramatma are different. The Supersoul, the Paramatma, has legs, hands everywhere, but the individual soul does not. And because the Paramatma is the Supreme Lord, He is present within to section the individual soul's desire, material enjoyment. Without the section of the Supreme Soul, the individual soul cannot do anything. The individual is bhukta or sustained, and the Lord is bhokta or the maintainer. There are innumerable living entities, and he is staying in them as a friend. The fact is that every individual living entity is internally part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, and both of them are very intimately related as friends. But the living entity has the tendency to reject the section of the Supreme Lord and action independently in an attempt to dominate nature. And because he has this tendency, he is called the marginal energy of the Supreme Lord. The living entity can be situated either in the material energy or in the spiritual energy. As long as he conditioned by the material energy, the Supreme Lord as his friend, the super soul, stays with him just to
Hmm?
get him to return to the spiritual energy. The Lord is always eager to take him back to the spiritual energy, but due to his minute independence, the individual entity is continually rejecting the association of spiritual light. The misuse of independence is the cause of his material strife in the conditioned nature. The Lord, therefore, is always giving instructions from within and from out. From without, he gives instructions as stated in Bhagavad Gita, and from within, he tries to convince the living entity that his activities in the material field are not conductive to real happiness. Just give it up and return your faith towards me, toward me. Then you will be happy. He says. Thus, the intelligent person who places his faith in the Paramatma or the Supreme Personality of Godhead begins to advance towards a blissful internal life of knowledge. Hare Krishna.
You see, in the 14th verse onwards, Krishna has told that he is present everywhere. Open 14th verse, where Krishna clearly says that he is present everywhere. Sarvataha panipadam tasarvato shishir tatasarvato kshi shiromukham. He is present everywhere. Now he's again emphasizing this thing that I am the proprietor, I am the overseer, I am the permitter, I am present everywhere, I am present in everyone's heart, I am the super soul. So when the point is emphasized, we should understand that Krishna wants to again say that Krishna is present everywhere. Krishna is present everywhere. And no one is alone. Krishna is seeing everyone's activity. Krishna is a possessor of the jiva. That is why he's bhokta. Bhokta means he's possessing jiva. He's possessing the matter. Everything is possessed by Krishna. Ya evam vetti purusham prakriti cha gunai saha sarvata vartamanopi nasa bhuyo vijayate. Ya evam vetti purusham prakriti cha gunai saha sarvata vartamanopi nasa bhuyo vijayate. Now, whoever understands this tattva traya, three things. Tattva means truth, traya means three. Tattva traya. This is actually the basis of even Vishishta Advaita philosophy, which is given by Sripad Ramanujacharya. Tattva traya. Here also Krishna says, ya evam, whoever, ya evam, anyone, vetti, understands, purusham, the living entity, prakriti, the material nature, gunaihi, the modes of material nature, saha sarvataha, in all the ways, vartamanaha, being situated, api, in spite of, na, never, saha, he, bhuyaha, again, abhijayate, takes birth. He will not take birth if he understands these three things. Baladev Bhushan, he writes for Purusham, he writes Krishna, the super soul. There comes Tattvatraya. Srila Prabhupada's commentary, Prabhupada mentions this as material nature, a living entity. Purusham, living entity. Purusham, Prabhupada mentions as living entity, and Prakriti is Prakriti, and Gunaihi, the modes of material nature. So here, Prakriti along with the Gunas and Saha here with. So Saha here in Baladev Bhushan's commentary, Saha is referred to as the living entity along with the material nature. So actually it is three things. When you say Purushaha, it is the super soul. When you say material nature, Prakriti, that is Prakriti. When you say Cha Gunai Saha, who is along with the nodes of material nature? It is the living entity who gets entangled in this material modes of material nature. Modes of material nature. That is why three things are automatically involved: Paramatma, material nature, and Jiva. Whoever knows this, he never takes birth again. Though he may be in different circumstances, encountering the different circumstances in this world that has been given, regardless of his present position. Whoever knows these three truths, what is the three truth? The material nature, the God, material nature, and himself being entangled in the modes of material nature. How the influence of material nature is there, and that decides our activity. So how this jiva being entangled in the modes of material nature behaves in different circumstances. So there you are not seeing somebody's activity, you're seeing the influence of the material nature onto that person. So you're just seeing it as a game, you're not minding it. That is why to come out of this birth and death cycle, one has to be like 12th chapter we saw, he has to be sama in all the situations. Somebody insults also, you have to be tolerant. Somebody praises also, you have to be tolerant. So why that thing is happening on to others, why his behavioral changes is there. Sometimes he calls you stupid, sometimes he calls you very beautiful, sometimes he calls you fool. So why those behavioral changes are there? Because of the modes which is affecting. Now, who sees this is unaffected. If he is not seeing the things as it is, he is just seeing, okay, this person has insulted me. स्थावर जंगम देखी न दाख्यतार मूर्ति सर्वत्र होय निज इष्ट देव स्फूर्ति. Seeing everything connected with Krishna, and how the material modes also belong to Krishna, how these modes are affecting the jiva, and because of that there are different behavioral patterns. If we understand that, then naturally we can see Krishna's energy working on different types of people in different ways. Then a person can come out of birth and death cycle. That means it's so difficult to come out of birth and death cycle. It needs abhyasa. Abhyasa yogena kutaha. It needs practice. And our process is what? Studying. There is a practice. We are just studying and trying to understand and put it in our practice. Simple. It is the behavioral patterns of the people that decides their activities. Next chapter is that only chapter. Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga. How the three modes of material nature affects a person. And then seeing Krishna's hand in everything, and seeing the jiva to be separate from this material nature. Okay, Krishna Priya, read the verse.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Ya evam vetti purusham prakritim cha gunai saha sarvadha vartamanopi na sabhuyo bhijayate. Translation. One who understands this philosophy concerning material nature, the living entity, and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Clear understanding of material nature, the super soul, the individual soul, and their interrelation makes one eligible to become liberated and return to the spiritual atmosphere without being forced to return to this material nature. This is the result of knowledge. The purpose of knowledge is to understand distinctly that the living entity has by chance fallen into this material existence. By this personal endeavor, in association with authorities, saintly persons, and a spiritual master, he has to understand his position and then revert to spiritual consciousness or Krishna consciousness by understanding Bhagavad Gita as it is explained by the personality of Godhead, then it is certain that he will never come again into this material existence. He will be transformed into the spiritual world for a blissful eternal love of knowledge. Hare Krishna.
ध्यानेनात्मनि पश्यन्ति केचित् आत्मानमात्मना अन्ये साङ्ख्येन योगेन कर्मयोगेन चापरे ध्यानेनात्मनि पश्यन्ति केचित् आत्मनमात्मना अन्ये साङ्ख्येन योगेन कर्मयोगेन चापरे. So some perceive the super soul, how within themselves through meditation, dhyana. So one wants to see the super soul. Then what he does dhyana, meditation. Meditation by the mind. Atmanam, Atmana. 2 times it has been given. See, Atmanam refers to super soul. How? By the practice of mind. That is known as dhyana. And then others, they perceive by Sankhya. That is Jnana Marga, Jnana Yoga. You can say Jnana, cultivation of knowledge, Sankhya. Some try to perceive by Ashtanga Yoga. That is Yogena, Ashtanga Yoga. Some try to perceive by Karma Yoga. That is by activities without fruitive desires. Nishkama Karma Yoga has been spoken. In this way, there are 4 ways to perceive the super soul. Some by dhyana, some by that is jnana, some by ashtanga, and some by karma yoga. So in this way, everybody is searching Lord. They're trying to see the super soul within themselves, within their body, you can say. Because Lord is seated in everyone's heart. So they want to see the Lord. So they are trying to meditate and they want to see the Lord. Some are trying to do the Krishkama Karma Yoga. In that way, they want to see the super soul. Some are doing Dhyana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Dharana, Dhyana. And some are doing the meditation. And in this, are different processes to know the super soul. Okay. Answer people.
Hare Krishna Mantra. Dhyanenaatmani pashyanti kechit atmanamaatmana अन्य सांख्येन योगेन कर्म योगेन चापते. Translation. Some perceive the super soul within themselves through the meditation, others through the cultivation of knowledge, and still others through working without fruitive desires. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Lord informs Arjuna that the conditioned souls can be divided into 2 classes as far as man's search for self-realization is concerned. Those who are atheists, agnostics, and skeptics are beyond the sense of spiritual understanding. But there are others who are faithful in their understanding of spiritual life, and they are called introspective devotees, philosophers, and workers who have renounced fruitive results. Those who always try to establish the doctrine of monism are also counted among the atheists and agnostics. In other words, only the devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are best situated in the spiritual understanding because they understand that beyond this material nature are the spiritual world and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is expanded as a Paramatma, The super soul in everyone, the all-pervading Godhead, of course. There are those who try to understand the Supreme Absolute Truth by cultivation of knowledge, and they can be counted in the class of faithful. The Sankhya philosophers analyze this material world into 24 elements, and they place the individual soul as the 25th item. When they are able to understand the nature of individual soul to be transcendental to the material element, they are able to understand also that above the individual soul there is a Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is the 26th element. Thus, gradually they also come to the standard of devotional service in Krishna consciousness. Those who work without fruitive results are also perfect in their attitude. they are given a chance to advance to the platform of devotional service in Krishna consciousness. Here it is stated that there are some people who are in pure consciousness and who try to find out the super soul by meditation. And when they discover the super soul within themselves, they become transcendentally situated. Similarly, there are others who also try to understand the Supreme Soul by cultivation of knowledge, and there are others who cultivate the Hatha Yoga system and who try to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead by childish activities. Hare Krishna.
So in all the four methods, knowledge is there. Like if he's taking the meditation process, he does it with knowledge. Though knowledge is secondary, but meditation is primary, he has the knowledge that there are two souls in the body. One is individual soul, one is super soul. So that knowledge is there. And he also knows that this body is distinct from, or you can say soul and super soul are distinct from this body. So this knowledge is there. Meditation is primary, knowledge is secondary. And when in the Jnana Marga, knowledge is primary, meditation is secondary. In that also meditation he has to do, not just with knowledge, he has to do the meditation also. But what is first important? That is, Jnana is important for him and meditation is secondary. In Hatha Yoga system, for him Ashtanga Yoga is primary, again knowledge is secondary. And when it comes to Karma Yoga, Nishkama Karma Yoga, both meditation and knowledge, they are secondary, but they have to be included. That means in all the four processes, knowledge is very important. Without knowledge, none of the processes can work. So what is the meaning of knowledge? Knowing the distinct difference between matter, soul, and spirit. Matter, soul, and super soul. Matter, soul, super soul. Knowing this distinct difference is knowledge. So in all the four processes, even Nishkama Karma Yoga also, why is he doing an activity without any desire? That because he knows that this body anyhow is different from the soul, or soul is different from the body. Anything related to the body is only temporary. The relationship between the soul and the super soul is more important. That means he is in the path of self-realization. These four are the means to attain self-realization, to understand that super soul is the master and the soul is the servant. So this is the path of self-realization. Now some, they don't know all these processes. Then what they will do? Like people like us, what we do? We don't know these processes. We don't know what is Hatha Yoga, we don't know what is Dhyana Yoga. We don't know Karma Yoga, Nishkama Karma Yoga. We don't know all these things. Hearing process, the best process, Krishna says. And Krishna very clearly specifies, whoever has this process, they can surpass death. Whoever takes up the process of hearing. Anyetvevam adhyanantah. Anyetvevam, yeah. Anyetvevam majanantah shrutvannyevya upasate te pichati tarantevya te pichati tarantyeva mrityum shruti parayanaha. Anyetvevam majanantah shrutvannyevya upasate te pichati tarantyeva mrityum shruti parayanaha. Very beautiful verse. Anye, others, fools like us, not yours, fools like me can say. Anyetvevam ajananta, we don't know all these things, how to have this type of spiritual knowledge, we don't know. Best is not hearing. The Prabhupada says, even preaching is the way to hear. When you preach, what you're doing, first you hear yourself, isn't it? Then others hear. And when you're preaching, you cannot even sleep also. So continuously you have to hear. At least those who are in the hearing process, they can sleep. But those who are speaking cannot sleep. So here, Shutva, he is hearing. Anyebhya, he is hearing from others. Upasate, Then he begins to worship. He begins to worship the Supreme Lord. Just by hearing, what happens? Atitaranti. Atitaranti means he can transcend. He can transcend mrityum, the path of death. Shruti parayanaha. He should be inclined to the process of hearing. So one should be inclined to the process of hearing. The more we hear, the more we hear. The more Srila Prabhupada has given us so wonderful things. The more we read loudly, actually what you're doing, we are hearing. The more we are surrendered to our acharyas, we are hearing. The more we hear, we can transcend the birth and death cycle. Start worshipping the Supreme Person. So that is self-realization. Somebody asked Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, please explain what is self-realization. Prabhupada said, work in Krishna consciousness, that is self-realization. Work in Krishna consciousness, that is self-realization. Now see, in Dhyana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, so much of endeavor has to be done. This is a simple process. Just hear, worship Krishna. This is self-realization. The more we hear, the more we can understand that we are servant of Krishna. The more we can understand Krishna is Bhoktaram. He is Bhoktaram. He is the one who is the enjoyer. He is only Purusha. Prakriti is Jiva. Prakriti is the Jada Brahman, the matter. So in this way, just by hearing, one can very easily, this is the most easiest process which has been given. And by this process, one can transcend the birth and death cycle. Narayana.
अन्ये त्वेवमजानन्त श्रुत्वान्येभ्य उपासते तेऽपि चातिरनन्त्येव
Tepi
मृत्युं
chati tarantyeva.
तेऽपि चातितरन्त्येव मृत्युं श्रुतिः परायणाः. Again, there are those who, although not conversant in spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. This verse is particularly applicable to modern society because in modern society, there is practically no education in spiritual matters. Some of the people may appear to be atheistic or agnostic or philosophical, but actually there is no knowledge of philosophy. As for the common man, if he is a good soul, then there is a chance for advancement by hearing. This hearing process is very important. Lord Chaitanya, who preached Krishna consciousness in the modern world, gave great stress to hearing because if the common man simply hears from authoritative sources, he can progress, especially according to Lord Chaitanya, if he hears the transcendental vibration Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It is stated, therefore, that all men should take advantage of hearing from realized souls and gradually become able to understand everything. The worship of the Supreme Lord will then undoubtedly take place. Lord Chaitanya has said that in this age, no one needs to change his position, but one should give up the endeavor to understand. But one should give up the endeavor to understand the absolute truth by speculative reasoning. One should learn to become the servant of those who are in knowledge of the Supreme Lord. If one is fortunate enough to take shelter of a pure devotee, hear from him about self-realization, and follow in his footsteps, one will be gradually elevated to the position of a pure devotee. In this verse particularly, the process of hearing is strongly recommended, and this is very appropriate. Although the common man is often not as capable as so-called philosophers, faithful hearing from an authoritative person will help one transcend this material existence and go back to Godhead, back to home.
Okay.
Mataji, I have a small question. Here in this purport, Lord Chaitanya has said that in this age, no one needs to change his position. What does this exactly mean? No one needs to change his position.
Jnane prayasam udapassanamantyeva जीवन्ति सन्मुखरिता भवदीयवार्तां स्थाने स्थितश्रुतिगतां तनुवान् मनोभिर्ये प्रायसो जितोऽप्यसि त्रैस्त्रिलोक्यम्. This is the words from Brahma's prayers, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his conversation with Ramananda Rai, he is asking, what is the highest thing? What is the highest goal of life? Then Ramananda Rai starts with Varnashramacharatah Purushena Parapuman. This bit goes on. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, this is Bhaya, Aage Kaho, Aage Kaho. When he comes to this point, Jnane Prayasa Mudapasya Namanti Eva Jivanti Sanmukharitam Bhavati Vartam. So in this lifetime, just come out of the speculative knowledge. The speculative knowledge is like beating the husk without the grains. Just trying to beat the husk without the grains. Jnane prayasa mudapasya namanti jivanti san mukharita. Jivanti in this lifetime, sana mukharita. San here refers to satsanga. Just hear from the authoritative source, from the self-realized source. San mukharita bhavadiya vartam. Sthane sthita. Be in the same position. You don't have to change the position. Like Kurma Brahmana, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to Kurma Kshetra. At the time, Kurma Brahmana wanted to come along with him. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told, no, you be wherever you are. If you are a grahastha, be a grahastha. You don't have to change your position. Wherever, whatever position you are, you be. But always be inclined to hear. Jivanti san mukharitam bhavadiya vartam sthane sthita shrutigatam tanuvan manoti ye prayaso jito ajitopi. You are capable of conquering that ajita. Who is that ajita? Krishna. You can conquer that ajita just by wherever you are, you be as you are. If you are a grahastha, you be as grahastha. If you are a brahmachari, be a brahmachari. Whatever position you have got, you be that. You don't have to change your positions to attain the Lord. Bhakti Vinod Thakur is a grahastha. But his son, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, is sannyasi. So it is not necessary that if you become a sannyasi, only then you can achieve Krishna. Wherever you are, be inclined to hear about him. The more we have that inclination, then we can conquer that unconquerable one. So this is the verse from Brahma's prayers to Krishna. This is the verse which has been quoted by Sri Ramananda Rai to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when Ramananda Rai is asked the question, what is the highest goal of life? In this way it goes.
Thank you, Mata. It's clear.
Memorize these shlokas. They are very beautiful shlokas. Ramananda Rai's conversation. Jnani Prayasam. It starts with this. So search out. Jnani Prayasam Udapasya Namanti Eva Jivanti Sanmukharitam Bhavadiya Varta Sthane Sthita Shrutigatam Tanuvan Manobhir Ye Prayaso Jito Ajitopi Asitri Stilokya. A certain verses every day you should by heart. You can keep some verses like that by heart. Learn it. Memorize the verses. When you memorize the verses, you know this is quoted by acharyas. Brahmaji is our first acharya. We are from Brahmavatva Sampradaya. Okay, next verse. 27. Yavat sanjayate kinchet sattvam sthavara jangamam kshetra kshetrakya samyoga tadviddhi Bharatarshabha. Yavat sanjayate kinche sattvam sthavara jangamam kshetra kshetrakya samyoga tadviddhi Bharatarshabha. Sanjayate. Whatever comes into being, sanjayate. What it is? Kinchit sattvam. Kinchit sattvam, anything. Sattvam, existing. Sthavara, which is not moving. Jangamam, which is moving. You have this one, sthavara jangama dekhi. Na dekhi taramurti. Don't see that as like that. Okay, this is a tree. This is a bird. No, you see there a combination of matter and two knowers. There are two knowers who are there in that matter. Kshetragya, the knower of the body, samyoga, by the union between, tadviddhi, you must know it, Bharatarshabha. So that is why this verse is also very important. Sthavara jangama dekhi, na dekhe taramurti. Don't see, kiski chara dekh. Sometimes you say, kisko dekh liya subah subah. I don't see that as a person. You see that as a combination of matter and the knowers of, there are two knowers. One is the soul and the super soul. But that can be, that the jiva can be known, called as a kshetrajna if he knows the difference between the body and soul. But as an individual soul yourself, when you see them, what you should see, oh, there are two things. There is a soul, there is a super soul, there is a matter. That's a combination. That is how the body is moving. Body just doesn't move on its own. There is a soul, there is the soul who has manipulated the matter. There is super soul who has given permission. One desires, one acts as an instrument, and one is a permitter. So in this way, three things are working together. So one who sees this, whatever we see, we have to see in this. The one who sees is a seer, you can say, or he knows the truth. Okay. Aneja Prabhu, you read.
Hare Krishna. Yavat sanjayate kinchit sattvam sthavar jangamam kshetra kshetragya sanyogat tadvidhi bharatrashbha. Translation. Bharatrashbha. Bharatrashbha.
Huh?
Bharatrashbha.
Trishva is the word. Bharatar
Bharatrashbha.
Are
Kshetra
Tra is
nahi.
not there. Tra is not there.
No, I'm not speaking tra.
Tra.
Bharatrashbha. Bha. Balu wala bha.
You are doing the mistake in tra. It is tar. Bharatar Shabha. Bharatar.
Bharatarashbha. Okay.
Huh?
Kshetra kshetragya
One
sanyogya
moment, you only tell that word. Bharatar
Bharatar
Shabha.
Shabha. Bharatar Shabha. Okay. Bharatar Shabha.
You know what you were telling? Bharatar Shabha. Tra. It is not
Yes, I
tra.
was speaking
Tar.
Bharatrashbha. It is Bharatar Shabha.
Huh?
Bharatar
What?
Shbha.
Ah,
Bharatar Shbha.
very good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Translation. O chief of the Bharatas, know that whatever you see in existence, both the moving and the non-moving, is only a combination of the field of activities and the knower of the field. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Both material nature and the living entity, which were existing before the creation of the cosmos, are explained in this verse. Whatever is created is but a combination of the living entity and material nature. There are many manifestations like trees, mountains, and hills which are not moving, and there are many existences which are moving, and all of them are but combination of material nature and the superior nature, the living entity. Without the touch of the superior nature, the living entity, nothing grows. The relationship between material nature and spiritual nature is eternally going on, and this combination is effected by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, he is the controller of both the superior and inferior natures. The material nature is created by him, and the superior nature is placed in this material nature, and thus all these activities and manifestations take place. Hare Krishna.
So variety creations are there. We have 84 lakh species. So Jalaja, Navalakshani, 84 lakh species. There is Krimikaha, there are Pakshinam, there are Manushya, then you have four-legged animals in this way. Savam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinashyatsva vinashyantam yaha pashyati sapashyati. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinashyat vinashyasva vinashyantam yaha pashyati sapashyati. Vinashyat swan swa. So you have to join. When you're reading in English, then you have to join. Vinashyat swa vinashyantam. Don't, that VH should join together. Vinashyatsva vinashyantam sapashyati sapashyati. So who is the real seer? Samam. Samam. Lord is equally there in all living entities. Tishtantam. One who sees a super soul accompanying the individual soul in all bodies. And then who understands that neither soul or super soul within the body, destructible body, is ever destroyed. Vinashyat, vinashyatsu. In this destructible body, avinashyantam, who is not destructible, the soul and the super soul is not destructible. Whoever sees this, he knows the truth. Now, Krishna is telling to Arjuna, because he was reluctant to fight. And Krishna says, in this destructible body, there are two souls, soul, super soul, and both are indestructible. So you are not killing any, even if you don't take part in the war also, the body is going to be killed or the body is going to be destroyed. So that has been again spoken. Krishna is speaking it again. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu. He is who has this type of vision that the soul, super soul, and the super soul is residing equally in all bodies. At the same time, the soul is there, individual soul is accommodating a particular body. So this say both the soul, super soul are indestructible. Okay, answer Prabhu, read.
Hare Krishna. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinashyasta vinashyantam ya pashyati sa pashyati.
Why so
One who
much
sees,
disturbance from your side, Prabhuji?
Mataji is preparing her exam.
Then somebody else can read. Okay, Janardhan Prabhu, you read. You mute your phone, Prabhu.
Krishna Mataji.
You read
Hare Krishna.
28th verse.
Yeah. Samam sarveshu bhuteshu tishtantam parameshwaram vinashat
Parameshwaram. Give justice to every word.
parameshwaram parameshwaram vinashatsva vinashanta ya pashyati sa pashyati
Vinashyantam. Tam.
vinashantam vinashatva vinashatvasa vinashatvasa vinashantam ya pashyati sa pashyati. One who sees the super soul.
Vinashyatsva vinashyantam. Vinashatsva vinashatsva.
Vinashatsva vinashantam ya
Ya
pashyati
pashyati sa pashyati.
pashyati sa pashyati.
Read.
One who sees the super soul accompanying the individual soul in all the bodies, and who understands that neither the soul nor the super soul within the destructible body is ever destroyed. Actually, is purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Anyone who, by good association, can see three things combined together: the body, the proprietor of the body, or individual soul, and the friend of the individual soul, is actually in knowledge. Unless one has the association of a real knower of spiritual subjects, one cannot see these three things. Those who do not have such association are ignorant. They simply see the body and they think that when the body is destroyed, everything is finished. But actually, it is not so. After the destruction of the body, both the soul and the super soul exist, and they go on eternally in many various moving and non-moving forms. The Sanskrit word Parameshwara is sometimes translated as the individual soul, because the soul is the master of the body, and after the destruction of the body, he transfers to another form. In that way, he is master. But there are others who interpret this Parameshwara to be the super soul. In either case, both the super soul and the individual soul continue. They are not destroyed. One who can see in this way can actually see what is happening. Hare Krishna.
What is the cause of our degradation? Our own mind. Mind is friend, mind is enemy also. So here the next verse, very clearly it has been said, one who does not degrade himself by his mind Because mind is a place where thinking, willing, feeling, everything happens. So one who is seeing the super soul is present everywhere. If he is not degrading himself by his mind, then he can attain that transcendental position. समं पश्यन् हि सर्वत्र समं वस्थितमीश्वरं न हिनस्त्य न हिनस् न हिनस्त्यात्मनात्मानं ततो याति परां गतिम् समं पश्यन् हि सर्वत्र समवस्थितमीश्वरं न हिनस्त्यात्मनात्मानं Okay. समं पश्यन् हि सर्वत्र समावस्थितमीश्वरं न हिनस्त्यात्मनात्मानं ततो याति परां गतिम्. One who sees the super soul equally present everywhere, in every living being, does not degrade himself by his mind, then he can approach the transcendental destination. Okay. That means the mind should be always engaged in Krishna service. He should not deviate it by his flickering mind. Mind, Savai Mana Krishna Padaravindayo. Ambarish Maharaj says, let Lord be always situated in my mind. Let me always think about him. One who does that will never degrade himself. Degradation means identification with the matter. That is degradation. So, what is upgrade? Upgrade himself with understanding that he is servant of Krishna. If the mind is occupied somewhere else, then one degrades this position, his constitutional position. His constitutional position is always servant of Krishna. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhu Kabhani Shravanadi Chitta Chitta Karayodaya. The more we hear, we can understand our Nitya position with Krishna. We are always servant of Krishna. It is not that today I am a servant of Krishna, tomorrow I will do something else. No, always I have to serve Krishna. Manasa, Vacha, Karmana. I have to always serve Krishna. So here, Samam, equally. One should understand Lord is present everywhere. Pashyanti, Sarvatraha. Samam Vastitam. Sama Vastitam is equally situated. Ishwaram is a super soul. Na hinasti, one should not degrade himself by the mind, Atmana. That is why mind should be focused. That focus is, if it is lacking, if we are lacking in focusing our mind in Krishna, then all the degradation happens. Ambarish Maharaj's prayer starts with this one. Savai Manah Krishna Padaravinde. So Krishna, let my mind be always at your lotus feet. Atmanam Tatha Yati Param Kati. If he is not degrading himself by the mind, then he can achieve Param Gati, that is Krishna's abode. So Krishna's abode is not far, it's very near. And the best way is just focus our whole concentration, just serving him. When we say serving him, we are serving 5 aspects. That is his form, his name, his qualities, his leelas, his devotees. And in this, what are the most easiest thing? That is serving his devotees, serving by chanting. Then we can understand serving the form, hearing his qualities, hearing his leelas. So by hearing process, we get fixed up in all these sevas. When you are fixed up in the sevas, then what happens? The mind does not degrade, the soul does not degrade himself with the mind. And then there is a clue, or there is a key to the success of attaining the transcendental position. Okay. Radha Prabhu, please read.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandat Pranam to you. Samam Pashyanhi Sarvatra Samavastitham Ishwaram Nahinasti Atmanatmanam Tato Yati Param Gatim. Translation. One who sees the super soul equally present everywhere, in every living being, but does not degrade himself by his mind. Thus, he approaches the transcendental destination. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The living entity, by accepting his material existence, has become situated differently than in his spiritual existence. But if one understands that the Supreme is situated in his Paramatma manifestation everywhere, that is, if one can see the presence of Supreme Personality of Godhead in every living thing, he does not degrade himself by a destructive mentality, and he therefore gradually advances to the spiritual world. The mind is generally addicted to sense-gratifying processes, but when the mind turns to super soul, one becomes advanced in spiritual understanding. Hare Krishna, Tadatnam.
Now, in the next two verses, how the task, how he accomplishes the task. How does he accomplish the task of distinguishing the individual self from Prakriti has been given. How to understand the distinct difference between the self, individual self, and Prakriti. So here it has been given that the doer is actually the Prakriti. Soul does not do anything. So what the soul desires, that is why it is an instrument which becomes the cause of the activities. And Krishna is there as a permitter. Without these three things, any activity is impossible. So here it is said. Prakrutyeva chakarmani kriyamanani sarvashah yah pashyati tatatmanam akartaram sapashyati. Prakrutyeva chakarmani kriyamanani sarvashah yah pashyati tatatmanam akartaram sapashyati. So this pride or false ego, it comes when that I, aham, mama iti ajnanam, I am the doer. Now here, this concept has been completely rejected. I am not the doer. Prakrutyaha eva chak karmani. It is prakriti. It is a material nature, which under the guidance of which under the permission of the super soul, kriyamanani, the activities are performed. Sarvashaha ya pashyati. If he sees this, and he also understands that Atmanam akartaram, I am not the doer. Neither I can impel anything to do. I don't have that capacity. It is the modes of material nature which forces a person to do. And that too, if permission is there. So it is the modes which makes any activity happen. Activities happen because of the modes. When you say why the modes should interfere, why the modes should perform an activity, why it is impelling a person to perform an activity, at that time it is the answer is it is desired by the soul. That is why the modes function. And then it is permitted also. Permission is not there, then how even the modes can function. But here it is said that self should understand that he is not the doer. Then he can actually see. So actually see means what? a self-realized soul, he works under the superintendence of Krishna. He knows that whatever he is doing is impelled by, is permitted by Krishna and impelled by the modes of material nature. He can see hands of Krishna in everything. Then only he can see. A conditioned soul considers himself the doer, Manikya. Manikya, Mekams. But our self-realized soul will never say Manikya, Krishna Nikya. Why? Because Krishna allows the modes to function. And that because of that mode's particular activity happens. And for a self-realized soul, what is an activity or how that activity is centered around, where it is centered around? It is centered around Krishna only. Every activity is centered around Krishna. That is why he can actually see. We have started here, like see, who can see, who can see. From which verse is started? From 28th verse. Who can see? One who can see that individual soul and the super soul are indestructible. Then they can see. And 29th verse, what he can see? That how super soul is present everywhere. He is not degrading his mind. That is how he can always attain the transcendental destination. Who can see? He can, one who can, who is a real seer? One who can see that this is just the work of Prakriti. That is why he is not under the clutches of Prakriti. In fact, he is using Prakriti in Krishna's service. Then that person is actually Sapashyati. He is a real seer, or he can see things perfectly. So you can write a nice essay on this, just for your understanding. How many Pashyati? Who is a real seer? Who is a real seer? Who is a real seer? Okay, Kalyani Mohini Mataji.
हरे कृष्ण माताजी प्रकृत्येव च कर्माणि क्रियमाणानि सर्वश य पश्यन्ति तथात्मानम् अकर्तरं च पश्यति अकर्तारं स पश्यति. One who can see that all activities are performed by the body, which is created of material nature, and sees that the self does nothing, actually sees. Perfect. This body is made by material nature under the direction of super soul, and whatever activities are going on in respect to one's body are not his doing. Whatever one is supposed to do, either for happiness or for distress, one is forced to do because of the bodily constitution. The self, however, is outside all these bodily activities. This body is given according to one's past desires. To fulfill desires, one is given the body, with which he acts accordingly. Practically speaking, the body is a machine designed by the Supreme Lord to fulfill desires. Because of desires, one is put into difficult circumstances to suffer or to enjoy. This transcendental vision of the living entity, when developed, makes one separate from bodily activities. One who has such a vision is an actual seer. Hare Krishna.
Now again, who is a real seer? Again, Yada Bhuta Prathak Bhavam Ekastham Anupashyati. Again, Pashyati. Tata eva cha vistaram Brahma Sampadyate tada. Yada Bhuta Prathak Bhavam Ekastham Anupashyati. Tata eva च विस्तारं ब्रह्म संपद्यते तदा. Who is entering, exiting bar. Somebody has to see some problem in the phone or what it is. Tada yada bhuta prutak bhavam. Yada bhuta prutak bhavam. When bhuta prutak bhavam. एकस्थम अनुपश्यति तथा एव च विस्तारं ब्रह्म संपद्यते तदा. So Prutak Bhavam, separated identities, ekastham, situated in one. Tata eva cha vistaram, seeing the expansion. Brahma sampadhyate tada. So when a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, and he sees how beings are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception. Same thing, the same verse. Stavara jangama dekhi na dekhe taram. Sarvatra hoy vijay ishtadeva smriti. He is not seeing that as a separate things. There are different bodies, but his vision is same. Vidya vinaya sampanne brahmane gavi hastini shuni chaiva shapake cha. Pandit who has entered now. Somebody is entering, exiting. Who is doing this? Don't play games in the class. Entering, then exiting. Then I have to block that exit also. Exit, entering, and all these things I have to block. Chandrapati Prabhu helped me. I don't know all these things. It is just disturbing so much. Yata bhuta pratak bhavam ekastham anubashyati. So he is not seeing that as a separate identities. Oh, this is dog. This is a brahmana. Oh, this is a elephant. This is a cow eater. This is a dog eater. No, he is not seeing that as a different entity. In fact, he is seeing that the soul is present in everything. That is why he doesn't have a different, though he may deal with everyone in different way, dealings will be different, but his vision is same, that he is seeing Paramatma situated in everyone's heart. And that is why he is always compassionate to everyone. He has neither a friend nor an enemy. He is equal to everyone. He is not saying this person is my friend or this person is my enemy. Sama sarveshu bhuteshu. He is equal to everyone. And he can see everyone as part and parcel of Krishna. He can see that matter belongs to Krishna, soul belongs to Krishna, and Krishna is the owner of both matter and soul. So in this way, he is not seeing this as a different identities due to different material bodies. They're all different. So individual soul, though individual souls have individual identity, but that individual identity is connected with Krishna. Every soul is connected with Krishna. Now suppose somebody is in a particular religion body, somebody is in another religion body. Now he is not seeing, oh, this person belongs to this religion. Let me not introduce Bhagavad Gita to him. Oh, this is the different religion. Let me not introduce. Prabhupada gave Krishna consciousness to the whole world. That is why it is international. It is not Indian. That means the right to know about Krishna is there for everyone. He has the right to know of Krishna. And every living entity is connected with Krishna. That is why he is not seeing in different, when he is seeing the different bodies, he is not seeing them as a different identity. Understand this word, different identity. Oh, he belongs to this particular religion. No, he's not seeing them as a different identity. Like we say, we belong to this particular caste. That casteism or groupism is according to the birth in which family or society we have taken. I am an Indian. Oh, I am an American. So in this way, that is just related to this body. But sapashyati, one who is a real seer, he is not seeing this as a different identity. In fact, he sees everyone connected to Krishna. Everybody is a part and parcel of Krishna. Oh, somebody is forgotten of Krishna. So he has more sympathy towards him, more compassion towards him. That's why Krishna conscious activity is the most compassion, most sympathetic activity. If you want to show real sympathy to others, compassion to others, give Krishna consciousness, irrespective of which body he has. That body is according to his karma, whatever family he may be born. Give Krishna consciousness. You can start giving Krishna consciousness to everyone, but then somebody is not ready to take it up, then avoid. Ashaddhadana. Don't give to Ashaddhalu Vyakti. Don't give to faithless people. You can try out 2-3 times, but in one of the 10 aparadhas, you cannot give to Ashaddhalu Vyakti. But in the Pandal program, even a Shraddhalu Vyakti comes, you have to, it's a common program, it's given to everyone. Whoever wants, they'll take it up. So this is what is given. Again, somebody exited. Hey, who is doing this? Somebody has to watch. Who is doing this? Let me see. I can see. It is Neeraj Kapoor who is doing. Neeraj Kapoor. This Kapoor family is doing this. They are coming, they are going.
Hare Krishna, Dandatna Mataji. Maybe
Yeah.
their connection may be a problem. That's why it is disconnecting and getting connected. That may be the reason it is happening, Mataji.
Okay. Okay, we can have such compassionate mood also. Okay, will we?
Mataji, I have a question.
Yes. But before this only question. Okay.
Yes, Mataji, only one question.
Hmm.
Yes, Mataji, how can we identify that anybody is a Shraddhalu? Because
He will land up in fighting with you. He will start arguing with you. So better is avoid argument. There Kalivas is there. If you have strong conviction in the scriptures, 1 or 2 times you can say, but still if he is not ready to accept what you say, better they say Dandavat.
yes, Mataji.
Mataji, in translation, it is stated he attains Brahman conception. What is this Brahman conception? Is he goes to
Brahman
the
conception. Brahman conception means understanding his eternal position. His eternity, eternal position.
Brahman? Okay.
Okay, Kanchan, you only read. Now I'm going to ask. Wait. Who entered now? Neeraj Prabhu, I want to know your coming, going.
Mataji, I am actually still driving, so.
Okay. That is why somebody had a compassion, or I was to block you now.
Yeah, just actually, I've been driving for the last 1.5 hours, just rather.
No problem. Okay. Kanchan, Sharit.
Yes,
Hari bol.
Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. यदा भूत पृथक् भावम् एकस्थमनुपश्यति तत एव च विस्तारम् ब्रह्म सम्पद्यते तदा. Translation: when a sensible man ceases to see different identities due to different material bodies, and he sees how beings are expanded everywhere, he attains to the Brahman conception. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When one can see that the various bodies of living entities arise due to the different desires of the individual soul and do not actually belong to the soul itself, one actually sees. In the material conception of life, we find someone a demigod, someone a human being, a dog, a cat, etc. That is material vision, not actual vision. This material differentiation is due to a material conception of life. After the destruction of the material body, the spirit soul is one. The spirit soul, due to contact with material nature, gets different types of bodies. When one can see this, he attains spiritual vision. Thus, being freed from differentiation like man, animal, being, low, etc., one becomes purified in his consciousness and able to develop Krishna consciousness in his spiritual identity. How he then sees things will be explained in the next verse. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam, Mataji.
So what is this vision? Brahman conception. Sampaddipate tata. What is this vision? So many visions we have spoken, no? Krishna has spoken about 20, 29, 30, 31. So now, ultimately summarizing to this verse. Anaditvan nirgunatvat paramatma yamavat paramatma yamavat paramatma yamavyah. No. Paramatma vyayah. Paramatma yamavyayah sharirasthopi kaunteya na karoti na lipyate anaditvan nirgunatvat paramatma yamavyayah sharirasthitopi kaunteya na karoti na lipyate. Anaditva nirgunatva. So what is the confusion? Who is a kriya pashyati sapashyati? This confusion. Anaditva. He is always eternal. Anaditva. Nirgunatva. He is beyond this modes of material nature. Nirgunatva. Paramatmayam avyayah. Paramatmayam avyayah. So Parama Atma. He is beyond material nature. He is that spirit. I am Abhyaha. He is inexhaustible. Sharirosthi is dwelling in this body. Api, though dwelling in this body. Api means though. Ukamteya. Na karoti. Na lipyate. He does not do anything, nor is he entangled. If this proper vision of eternity is there, then he can see this. He is not entangled in this modes of nature. He is neither the doer nor is he entangled. Whatever he is doing for Krishna. Only when he does this, then only he is real seer. He is not degrading his mind. He is not degrading himself with his mind. He can see that both soul and super soul are eternal. He knows that he is not the doer. It is Krishna who is the permitter. He can see the modes of material nature. He can see the functions of the modes of material nature. So we saw all this. The 4 verses are speaking about it. In the previous verse, what he said, he cannot. Now he's not seeing anybody as a different identity. According due to the different material bodies. So that person who has this type of wonderful vision of eternity, he can see that the imperishable soul is transcendental, eternal, beyond the modes of material nature. Despite contact with this material body, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled. What he does not do, the soul does not do any material activity. Like Srila Prabhupada, when he went to the West, when he is even in the Bharat, what he was doing was only working for Krishna. So the soul is not entangled. And those living in the body, not entangled. And is not doing any material activity. Every activity is spiritualized. Does not do anything means what? Soul cannot remain without doing anything. That is what we started with. If you see in the second chapter, 3rd chapter, there is not a time when the soul does not do anything. It's the nature of the soul to be active. 3.5 you see, nahi kaschit shalamapi jatu tishtatya karma krut karyate havishak karma sarva prakriti jain gunai. In the purport itself, Prabhupada starts. The nature of the soul is always to be active. Now, the soul is always active. Now, soul does not do anything means what? Soul is not doing any material activity. That is the meaning. That is why not entangled, always liberated. He is always liberated. Even within this material world, yasya harer dasya karmana manasagila nikhilashapi avastasu jivan mukta sochite. Within this lifetime itself, he is liberated. Why? Iha, in this lifetime, yasya harer dasya, he is haridas, karmana manasaha gira. With his activities, mind, karmana manasaha gira means body. So he is always working for Krishna. That is why he is liberated. He is not bound.
Mataji, one question here we say soul always does spiritual activity. But when we say soul forgets Krishna and desires material desires, then comes to the material world, then if it is always doing spiritual activity, how it will desire material things?
In here it is going to come in the 15th chapter. Two types of soul, Sharajiva, Aksharajiva. Sharajiva has a tendency to forget. Sharajiva, they have a competitive nature with Krishna. That is why loses his spiritual identity. Forgets. Loses means forgets. Forgets the spiritual identity. Identify itself with the matter. Wants to exploit the matter. Wants to become the enjoyer. Wants to become the controller. And that is how gets entangled. But Akshara Jivas, they never forget. Here what we are speaking is about the Akshara Jivas, who never forget their identity.
Okay, thank you.
That has been spoken. Now 15th chapter we will have these two types of soul. Okay. Daya Sagar Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Anaditvam nirgunatvat Hariraspi Kaunteya Nakarati Navikriti. Those with the vision of eternity can see that the imperishable soul is transcendental, eternal, and beyond the limits of nature. Despite contact with the material body, O Arjuna, the soul neither does anything nor is entangled. Purport. A living entity appears to be born because of the birth of the material body, but actually the living entity is eternal, is not born, and in spite of his being in a material body, is transcendental and eternal. Thus, he cannot be destroyed. By nature, he is free of all. He doesn't engage himself in any material activity. Therefore, the activities performed due to his contact with material bodies do not entangle him. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Here we stop. Any questions you can ask. 3 verses are there, we don't rush about. We'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll do the 3 verses and then we'll start with the 14th chapter. Any questions here? So the Saturday, Sunday we have examination. Saturday will be the written text. Written, no? Saturday. And Sunday will be the words. You prepared? Don't say no. I don't know.
Mataji, the Saturday we have the Ramanuj class also.
Which class?
Ramanujacharya.
After that one. 8 o'clock is a written examination. 6 to 7 Ramanuja class.
6 to 7.
We are not going to study to the last moment. Don't say I'm going to give you the books at the last moment. Okay, Anupama Mataji.
What's happening? Noise. Really.
Voice is not audible. Your voice is not audible. Krishna.
Who has to speak? Krishna?
Yeah, you asked, no? Daya Sagar Prabhu, you asked.
Yeah, Mataji, I wanted to ask, who is seer? For me, is not clear. Probably is too many times it comes. Yeah, This quotation, I'm not able to now find out. Can you just simply explain? Like soul is seer or Krishna is seer?
Both are seers. Krishna is identifying that person as a seer who understands the distinct difference between the matter, soul, super soul. He is identifying that person as a seer. If he is not differentiating the identities. So the seer means one who is able to self-realize soul, simple. A self-realized soul has been spoken. About that we have seen even the 5th chapter, Vidya Vinaya Sampanna. Because he is in knowledge, he is a proper seer. He knows the truth. He knows the truth. He is in knowledge. That person is seer. Simple. So 4 aspects have been given. He knows that soul is imperishable. Super soul is imperishable. Dehinosmin yatha deha kaumaram yauvanam jara tata dehantara prapti dhirastram muhyati. This dhira has been spoken. So that dhira has been spoken. Who is a dhira purusha? Who is a real seer? Okay. Anything else? Any other doubt? Okay, stop here. Nainu, you want to say Vancha Kalpatarudascha? I think slept on.
In Manjari, come.
On your video and say one shloka. Apareyamitastvanyam prakutim viddhi me param.
प्रकृतिं बुद्धिरेतरां जीवभूतं महाभागो यैदं राजते जगत्
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च
पत्रं पुष्पं फलं तोयं यो मे भक्त्या प्रयच्छति
तदहं भक्ति उपारुतम्
अपरं भक्ति उपरतम् अश्नामि प्रयतात्मनः
Very good. Panchakalpatarubyascha.
कृपासिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः
Hari bol. She is a feast for our eyes, for our ears. Hare Krishna. Hari bol.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam.
Yeah.
Mataji, we have sent the essays.
You have sent that open book essay, na? Or of you have to send?
By mail, Mataji.
Yeah, you sent. Do the correction later. Hare Krishna.